You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
The agency is fast approaching, and we are seeing teams start to make moves in terms of tagging players, letting players go. The Dolphins have started to make moves as well. But we kind of, before we really delve into all of that, I guess. Charlie, how's things? How's being away from home? How's life treating you at the moment?
Hey, listen, last episode, I said we were going to get interrupted for sure by the nephews and nieces, but it didn't happen. I am certain as I am, that I could defeat a non-top 15 UFC fighter. No, I can't say defeat. I won't defeat him, but I could land 6 shots on him, bro. I promise I can land 6 shots on him. We're going to get interrupted by the nephews and nieces today on this episode, so don't be alarmed, but I'm well. We got a guest on the show today, man. Probably I can't even say my favorite because then everybody else going to feel some type of way, but if no one else is listening, my favorite guest that we always bring back on to the show. Now, let me stop. But, hey, 5YardLee, man, welcome back, bro. What you got?
How you doing, man? Nice to be back.
What's the word, man? What you been up to?
Not much. Just trying to get hold of take in all the news that's happened in the last couple of hours.
Yeah.
The absolute craziness.
Do you know what? Yeah, the one thing, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I will listen and tweet out the Dol-Fan UK podcast, which is where you can find Lee. And if you ask Lee, how he doing, it's I'm good. Very, very short, very precise. You ask Lee a Dolphins question, that he's like he could talk for hours, and I love people like that. It's very much like I'm not gonna say reserved because I've been around Lee. We covered Dolphins before. Like, Lee isn't a reserved person, but you can tell the energy and the way he loved the Miami Dolphins. That it's just like, you ask him. It's probably the only time I'm going to compare you to Bill Belichick. You ask Bill Belichick a question he doesn't like to answer, and it's very short, very snappy. He's like, "Yeah, I don't care." You ask Bill Belichick a football question, and his eyes light up. He's like, "You know what? I'm ready for this." That is Lee. You ask Lee a Dolphins question, eyes light up.
I'm just more interested in talking about the Dolphins than I'm talking about me. Doesn't matter how I am, because to be honest, my mood's probably going to be based on what's going on with the Dolphins. So,
So yeah, it's been a peek behind the curtain. It's been a very long few days, and we were meant to have Lee on a few days ago, but things came up, and that wasn't the case. But in the 48 hours we haven't had Lee on, it's so much has happened, and I think it's only we should start with the Dolphins franchise tagging Mike Gesicki. I'm wearing the jersey, looks like he's staying, so I'm not taking it off. I'm not selling it.
We don't know if he's staying though, bro. Like, look at you, bro. He could get tagged and traded. If he gets tagged and traded, you suspended, bro. We gonna suspend you from the podcast, bro.
Listen, I believe the curse is broken. I'm speaking it into existence. Okay, let's not go too far. But anyway, so outside of Mike Gesicki being tagged, Calvin Ridley. So Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley. He was I want to say a target for Miami fans. We don't know whether the team were interested in him, but he was definitely someone who Miami fans wanted to bring home. And I believe there may have been a few tweets over the course of the season about him potentially joining Miami. If that happens, it won't be this season. He's been suspended for the entirety of the 2022 season for gambling, basically.
At least. At
Yeah.
least. It could be multiple seasons. And the crazy thing is he was on Twitter talking about, I'm only suspended 1 year. Hey, bro, this is not the time to be talking on Twitter, bro. Like,
do you know, like, I'm not going to get the statement up, but it seems that he complied, he was honest, he did, like, I think that will go a long way to, having him come back sooner rather than later. But Calvin Ridley suspension means there's a very significant wide receiver that isn't coming to Miami. So, normally I kind of throw to Charlie, but 5YardLee's here. 5YardLee's, our favorite. Listen, you can't call 5YardLee your favorite guest and then not want to hear from him straight away. Like, I can.
Normally I go to Charlie, but 5YardLee's here.
Yeah, damn straight. Like, you know what? This is the whole, like. Listen, I'm not getting into it, but 5YardLee started with the Calvin Ridley thing. How I don't say that this disrupts the Dolphins off-season plan, but could you have seen Miami making a move for him, and would you wanted Miami to make a move for him?
I mean, look, you can definitely see it because it's a need. Calvin Ridley's a good player, so the chances of it, I don't know if it was gonna happen, but it's definitely something that you would feel had been a conversation within the building, and if they hadn't talked about it, then someone wasn't doing their job right. Because any time a talented player becomes available, you've got to have at least a conversation, even if it ends with no, this isn't going to be the right fit for us. But you've got to have that conversation. But I mean, it's how it affects the rest of the market. We've already seen a couple of players sign extensions and get the tag today. But I mean, just on Ridley himself, the suspension seems so disproportionate to the crime, if that makes sense. Like, I don't.
So you think it's too much?
I mean, I do. Like, I know he was. It's different than if he was betting on a solo, like an individual sport, but like it must be difficult for one player to throw an NFL game.
Hold on. I gotta interrupt. But listen, Lee. You know he bet on the Falcons.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
it was an accumulator, or as the US guys call it, a parlay.
Right. So to be clear, to be fair,
yeah.
So he bet on a 3-team parlay, a 5-team parlay, and an 8-team parlay, and somewhere in the midst, Atlanta was one of those teams in that parlay. Now,
did he bet them to win or to lose?
I don't know, bro. Like,
we don't know.
Because if he bet them to win, then all he was doing was trying to win anyway, which is what we expect from a player. So, did he really do anything wrong?
And the NFL statement have clarified that it wasn't like any inside information. It didn't, like, it wasn't like teams are throwing games. It was literally like he bet on these games. The Falcons happened to be one of those games, but we don't think that there was any dodgy dealing. So it's essentially, and it's also important to note as well. At the time of those bets were placed, I think over like a 5-day period, he wasn't playing. So it's not like he's in the locker room and he knows that Matt Ryan has like a bummy shoulder and we might not win this week. He's at home. Okay, does he speak to players? He probably does. But the statement clarifies there was no insider talking or anything like that. Now,
I don't know, fellas. I don't know. I think this is a deterrent suspension. I think
that's what Pat McAfee said.
I think we're gonna nip this in the bud, and no one else is gonna ever think about betting on football ever again. I think that's, and then if you ask me, I think they could get away with 2 seasons. And I wouldn't. I like Calvin Ridley, but someone's got to go. You can, bro. Pete Rose ain't even in the Hall of Fame because of betting on baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like, you telling me we got a somebody sitting like in the NFL right now? Someone bet on the game. Here's the thing. Where do we go with that? Like, what happens if he was like, bruh, hey, I need you to do this. I got you on as a prop bet, bro. I need 5 catches, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we know he's not gonna go to Matt Ryan and say, bruh, I got $1,500 on me getting over 4 catches a game. Like, we don't know. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We don't know, bro.
Okay, but before we do go back to like, you know, free agency and stuff like that, what will be interesting. So Ridley's been, you know, at least a season bet for this. So season ban for this. What do the NFL do if they find Stephen was guilty of basically trying to get the Dolphins to legally tank? That's going to be really interesting. And it's something which people spoke about when Antonio Brown basically left the Bucks, and they're talking about, you know, all the incentives and stuff like that. The moment you chuck up incentives into any contract, regardless of position, you don't get teams trying to or players trying to throw games. But same way, you know, Calvin Ridley might be like, okay, I've got a prop bet on Matt Ryan to throw 2 touchdowns. If Matt Ryan himself has an incentive in his contract which says if he throws for 20 touchdowns this season, he gets a bonus, he's going to be incentivized to, you know, throw more touchdowns. And I've seen some people turn around and say, it's the same way Antonio Brown shouldn't have had, you know, if he gets 100 receptions, he gets X amount. Take that out of contract, and then that way you don't get players basically playing for themselves. So it's all interesting. But yeah, I guess the bigger thing for me would be the Dolphins could be in big trouble if Stephen was found guilty, and that's going to be very interesting.
See, I'm really glad you used the word incentivized, because the NFL incentivizes teams to lose. Right? The draft system incentivizes teams to lose. Halfway through a season, half the teams in the NFL are better off losing than they are winning. And that the system is designed that way. Like, when it comes to the end of the season, there is a number of teams in line for the number 1 pick. It is in their interest to lose games. And that's a system that the NFL have put in place.
I agree. But
I don't know how to sort it. I don't know how to fix the
No. I get it.
problem,
Here's the thing, though. With the Calvin Ridley incident, what the NFL is saying now, without saying it, is you're better off hitting your wife than betting on football. 100%. That is exactly what the NFL is saying. Like, bro, do whatever you want to whoever you want, but don't bet on our games, right? That is what they're saying. Now, the thing is, at the same time, Lee, we all can agree, out of the 3 major sports in the United States, out of baseball, basketball, I'll throw hockey in there, and football, the NFL has the most parity of all 4 leagues. I said 3, but it's out of all 4. So that means it's working. You know what I'm saying? To incentivize the draft, leave it as is. Yo, if you ask me, let's go to the mock draft, snake draft route. You know what I'm saying? The fantasy football snake draft. Let's do that. You feel me? But nah, I feel you. But right now, it's not a good look. Gambling on football, bro. Listen, I know this. When Calvin Ridley comes back, I'm taking the Calvin Ridley prop bet every game, straight up, because I know he's betting on himself. Let's do it.
I mean, it's also interesting that the NFL have just started partnering with betting companies. Now, obviously, in the UK, betting is so completely different than in the US. Like, and this isn't going to stop players from betting on games. This is going to stop players from getting caught betting on games. The same way footballers are betting on games over here all the time. So some background for you. I used to work in the gambling industry, and there's football players all over the country. Their accounts just in different names. They just don't get caught. That's what will happen. It won't stop players from doing it. It just stops players getting caught.
So here's my thing, Lee. He didn't have an account in a different name. You see what I'm saying? Like, so for someone to boldly poke their chest out and not even say, hey, can you make this bet for me? Hey, can you do this for me? Hey, I'm going to go around this. It's not even a family member. You know what I'm saying? So, the NFL has investigators. You know what I'm talking about? They got to make sure they have integrity in their league, make sure people aren't compromising the league. So the fact that some people will use the word dumb enough, I won't use dumb enough, but the fact that he was negligent enough, you know what I'm saying, to do it himself, What else you got on your mind, Calvin? Really? Like, you still my dog, though, bro. I still want you as a Dolphin. I'm not throwing you to the wolves. I rock with you, but at the same time, bro, that is a boneheaded mistake. And I gotta believe, even though they only caught him with whatever he said, $1,500 and 3 parlays. Okay, shout out to you. You say you don't have a gambling problem, and if you do, someone else out there listening to Go Time Dolphins does have a gambling problem. I used to have a gambling problem. I got it right. Get help. You know what I'm saying? Bet in moderation. Shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot to say you have a gambling problem. So y'all get help. But Calvin really say he don't have a gambling problem. You might, even though you said you only spent $1,500. Like, bro, you didn't put it in nobody else's name, and you were just bold enough to do this. Like, I don't know, bro. You might have a gambling problem, bro. I'm just saying.
Certainly not his smartest decision.
What up,
No.
Kadeem?
But no, yeah, the thing is that decision has ramifications for the Dolphins. Obviously, the Dolphins will not be trading for Calvin Ridley this year. But also, there are a few players who the Dolphins have been linked with and Dolphins haven't been linked with and stuff like that. So another wide receiver who could be available is Amari Cooper. As Charlie got so upset that I went to Lee first, Charlie, I go to you first. Sorry about that. Would you be taking Amari Cooper in Miami, and at what price would you take Amari Cooper in Miami?
I'll take my flowers. Can I get my flowers, bro? You know
Flowers for what?
How many times on this podcast did I say be on the lookout for Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper are cap casualties? Like, they are legit cap casualties this year. And Ezekiel Elliott is in the conversation, but he won't be because it's dead cap. But I knew for sure Amari Cooper. I'm like, yo, bro, Amari Cooper's going. We had an episode where I'm like, Amari Cooper or Devontae Parker. You know what I'm saying? And we was talking about how much is he going to cost when he hits the open market. He's going to get cut. So here's my thing about Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper and DJ Chark have the same value, and I'm going to tell you why. I like them both, but I'm going to tell you why it's the same value. DJ Chark doesn't really get hurt like Amari Cooper does. Yes, he got hurt last year, but he's more dependable, okay? Amari Cooper is the better receiver, but he's not as reliable with his injuries. So that means Chark might be on the field more, but Cooper is better than Chark. So to me, that's the same exact value. I am not interested in paying Amari Cooper over $16 million a year. So if we could find a number under $16 million a year, maybe it's a 1-year prove-it deal. I don't know. Maybe it's a 2-year 15 apiece. I have no idea what that number is. I am interested in Amari Cooper. And I'm also interested in DJ Chark on the same team. And now you have Waddle. Now you have your receivers. So I already told you. And shout out to LB. LB like, yo, what's up with Allen Robinson? You don't want Allen Robinson no more? Yeah, I want Allen Robinson. I want one receiver. Give me a go-to receiver that I can trust day in and day out with. Waddle is going to get 100+ receptions every day in the slot. You cannot waddle your way down the field, pardon the pun. You know what I'm saying? Because we've seen that in Tennessee. When Waddle is taken out the game, you have nowhere to go. Now, if you have a traditional X receiver that is your number one, just like all these other Super Bowl teams have had, multiple of them, you can do something with that. So yes, we got Waddle, but we need a traditional X that's going to take coverage away from someone else. So I believe Cooper could do that. He hasn't been that in a minute, but yo, give me Coop. I'll take Coop for the right price. I'll take Chark for the right price too. I'm not overpaying for Chark either. And shout out to Allen Robinson. If we could give him who's number 15? Dang, we can't give him 15 no more because Jalen Phillips got it. But it would have been nice to have AR-15 on the team. What you got, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an Amari Cooper fan, so I think he goes missing in big moments too often. Like you say, availability is a problem as well. The cap number is horrible. And I actually think that I don't believe that he gets cut. I think someone ponies up something to get him in a trade. There'll be someone sitting out there with cap space that's willing to pay that contract,
bro.
Someone will be trying to get to the cap floor. There will be somebody trying to get to that cap floor.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Get loud. That's a lot of money.
It is, but what happens if you bring him in, extend him, and turn some of it into a signing bonus?
Let me ask you this: we got Parker. Parker is as cheap as he's ever going to be now. We got it for $9 million. Are you interested in keeping Parker, Lee?
Yes, I'm a huge Devontae Parker fan. I believe people need to forget Devontae Parker as a number one. He is a part of a wide receiver unit. He can't be a number one because he's not available often enough.
This is 5YardLee, right?
Yeah.
The same 5YardLee that said he quit on us. Parker quit on us.
I've always been a Parker fan.
Man, so how do you show your loyalty to someone who can't show your loyalty to us? Who doesn't show his loyalty to us?
I mean, can you get Devontae Parker production for that amount of money somewhere else?
No, we can't get Devontae Parker production at all. But for that number, I get it. I do get it. No, I really do. Because here's my thing. I'm the person who said trade X for the past 4 years, and this is the year you got to keep X now. You know what I'm saying? So you have to keep X now. You cross that bridge. You keep X. But here's my thing with Devontae Parker. His cap number is so feasible. It's like
what's the point of getting rid of him?
No, I get it. Now. So now you can keep Parker, but I still think if he quit on you once, he'll quit on you again. I don't. It just hurts my spirit to know that there's a quitter on the team, bro. Like he quits.
Yeah, I mean, does he quit on the team? Did he quit on the coaching staff? I mean, the staff are responsible for putting together a horrible offensive side of the ball in general. Like that was pitiful. We're throwing passes in the end zone. Like we're throwing lateral passes in the end zone
on the 1 yard line.
Come on, man. Like you can't. I don't know. I'm willing to give him a chance. Like you say, for the money. I think for me, if I had to go wide receiver shopping, I want Juju Smith-Schuster on this team.
Shout out to. So I'm gonna spill the beans a little bit. I had a plan. The plan, you know what I'm saying? I said 5YardLee, my favorite guest. The plan was when Sherrod Steve come back to the show, I'm gonna say he's my favorite guest too. But since you just invoked Juju Smith-Schuster, Sherrod Steve also said he wanted Juju Smith-Schuster on the Dolphins now because we're a run first team. Before he didn't want him because like, yo, I get it.
So I didn't want him before because I didn't think last year. I thought he was a terrible fit for this staff and for the team.
Which is
this
true.
year, everything's different.
Which is
and
true.
Also, I believe a player like Juju opens up Waddle to be more than what we saw last year. He can be more explosive than what we saw last year. He doesn't have to be the short yardage guy.
I get it.
He's more explosive than that, and I think Juju can open him up.
I agree 1,000,000%. So let me ask you this: since it's me and Lee today, Kadeem gonna get in here eventually. Let me ask you this, Lee. Juju is a slot receiver. He is. There is no question about it. Like he's not a outside receiver. Waddle is being used as a slot receiver. Do you move Waddle to the outside now?
Yes.
So for the record, you're keeping Parker, putting Waddle on the outside, and slide Juju in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't hate it.
Juju has good hands. He catches it in tight quarters. He has some run after the catchability. He also has tackle breaking ability. So he's perfect for what Tua does, which is throwing into tight windows.
So I was gonna wait for Sherrod Steve.
Sorry,
because he said the same thing. I was driving to Texas, right? And it's 22 hours from Miami to Texas. So I was driving to Texas, and Sherrod Steve decided he wanted to go on a tirade, right? And I couldn't go back and forth with him because I was driving. So I hope you're listening to this, Sherrod Steve. So for since we're talking about it, here's my thing: if it's not broke, don't fix it. If we just seen Jalen Waddle for the lack of the Tennessee Titan game would have been the offensive rookie of the year had he didn't show up and he missed the game. He would be offensive rookie of the year, or it would have been a conversation because Chase got off and Waddle missed the game and then didn't show up against Tennessee, there was no more conversation. Respectfully, why would we change it up with Waddle and not just add more pieces around that chemistry with Waddle and Tua? Why would we take him out of that role now?
Because he can be more. But also you're not asking him to do something he's not done before.
You want some of this, Kadeem?
Listen, there's a reason why we love having 5YardLee on this show, and I remember listening to, might not be your last episode on Dol-Fan UK, might have been the previous one, but you've mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster, and I meant to ask you about it. I'm glad you brought it up here. I kind of want to move away from the wide receivers because I've just seen something on social media, which, UK term, tickled my fancy.
Tickled your fancy, did it?
It did. So we speak about X's future in Miami. Charlie doesn't go back and forth, but in the past he'd trade X, get the value, you move on, all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's the same right now, but I'm not going to put words in Charlie's mouth. Is what it is. Byron Jones is someone who came on a massive deal in free agency a few years ago. Some people believe he paid too much. Others believe, he's a very, very good corner. He earns what he earns for a reason. JC Jackson in New England, or was in New England, it looks like he's leaving New England. One of the teams he has been rumored to join is the Miami Dolphins. Now, as far as I know, we do not need another wide receiver. We can discuss, Noah Igbinogheni's journey in the NFL so far. But we're pretty solid in terms of Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. And given we kind of know that Xavier Howard is going to get a new deal, what does this mean for Byron Jones? Lee, is this something you expected to hear right now? That the Dolphins could be getting rid of Byron Jones and bringing in JC Jackson?
Well, so I saw this a little bit earlier as well, and I mean, I got so many questions. Yes, it's a surprise, obviously, because I'm a huge Byron Jones fan. I think Byron Jones is massively underrated. I understand he doesn't have the interception numbers, but you've only got to watch him play to see how important he is to so much that the back end of this defense does. But as much as I'm surprised he's being mentioned to the Dolphins, or that the interest from the Dolphins has come up, none of us saw Byron Jones being a signing when that happened either. So, yeah, maybe there is something there that makes sense. The other thing is, logic would say that you have to move on from Byron Jones, but what if they decide to move him inside or even play him at safety? I understand you've got the two young safeties back there, and that's what everyone thinks is going to be there for the next 10 years. But Byron Jones is also a hell of a player. Logic would say that you must have a trade partner, and you're going to trade him out and bring JC Jackson in. If they're talking with Xavier Howard, that means they're going to give him some more money up front. So if you can upload his contract front heavy, load JC Jackson's contract back heavy, you can make it work. But this seems like overcomplicating something for the sake of it, because I'm happy to roll into the season with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard under contract.
Everybody knows I'm from Miami, Florida. I love London. I would live there, straight up. So this is my best impersonation of for my London heads. If someone said, "Oh, let's move on from Byron Jones so we could bring in J.C. Jackson and eat $12 million dead cap," I will ask them if they were taking a mick. Straight up. Straight up. Are you taking a mick? Come on, man. You just said it, Lee. You don't overcomplicate it. We don't have to do this. We have Brandon Jones and Javon Holland. And I don't want to say I hate But we gotta put some respect on Eric Rowe's name to be the tight end stopper. Like, put some respect on this man's name. Even friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, came here and said, hey, Eric Rowe is a specialist. You know what I'm saying? A tight end specialist. So unless you about to pay $49 million to 3 corners to have J.C. Jackson play the nickel, this is not going to happen. So, no, I'm not in the conversation to move on from Byron Jones, because I am of the belief that Byron Jones is more important to the system than Xavier Howard is. Yes, Xavier Howard makes the bigger plays, but the system is in place for Xavier Howard to do that. So, Adam JC, here's something else you could do with this conversation. Maybe Chris Greer came out and said, yeah, man, we're trying to extend Xavier Howard because we told him we'll do it last year and we got to talk it up. So he can move on from Xavier Howard and replace him with J.C. Jackson. I am all for that. Hey, I am all for that. Like, if you want to do that, we can do that. But
then, so very quickly, but the plan has always been, if we're moving on from Xavier Howard, you use that first round pick. You the first round pick you've also already got, and you go and get Derek Stingley. That's been the plan. So if I'm moving on,
no, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Kadeem, and you let all of us talk. I'm sorry, but J.C. Jackson is proven. So Derek Stingley, yes, we love Derek Stingley Jr. You know what I'm saying? But if someone said right now, J.C. Jackson or Xavier Howard, a lot of Dolphins fans gonna be, oh, Howard. Bro, we're moving forward in the future. Howard got knee issues that could come back up any given day now. You know what I'm saying? You go younger, you pay J.C. Jackson to be the future. This is a smooth transition. I love it if it's for Howard, not if it's for Byron.
So being for Xavier Howard makes way more sense because you're dictating where Xavier Howard's getting traded to. Like, partly you're dictating that. But also you get to weaken the Patriots by taking J.C. Jackson. So, like, there's definitely some logic to it. But, I mean, if it comes off, great. If we go into the season with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, great. To me, it's much of a much. I don't, like, yeah.
Kadeem, I'm gonna
take it or leave it.
I'm gonna give it back to you because I cut you off. I apologize again. But
no,
it makes even more sense that it's Xavier Howard, because you can pay J.C. Jackson what Xavier Howard wants to get paid. You got younger. And Boyer is on the record saying, yo, we're going more man this year. More man scheme this year. It's on the record. It's out there. It's in the public. So if you're going more man, and you got J.C. Jackson and Byron Jones, who doesn't light up the scoreboard, and that's why he's such a good fit. You move on from X, you're going to get pieces for X. You're going to get compensation for X, regardless of what we think the compensation is. Again, y'all heard me say it before, and I'm going to take a chance of repeating myself. The Eagles have 3 first-round picks. The Eagles need a cornerback. We are trade partners with the Eagles for the past decade. We made plenty of trades with the Eagles. You trade Xavier Howard to the Eagles, and you get one of them, that 15, the 16, or the 19, you put yourself in position to really do something there. You could go get a receiver. You could go get Linderbaum. You could trade back and still have that first still. You could do a lot of things if you move on from Xavier Howard. Although I believe you have to keep him now, I'm still on the trade Xavier Howard train. 2 things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. So not to flip flop between all these different players and scenarios, I guess, but there's just so much going on in Miami Dolphins world. We haven't even got to Mike Gesicki yet. We'll get to him shortly. One person I really, really, really want to discuss is Saquon Barkley. So as the guest who's not a guest, Lee, Saquon Barkley for 4th to Miami. Do you say yes or no?
Do you say for a 4th?
For a 4th round pick.
Oh, sign me up right now. I'm sending it now.
I think
twice on Sundays. I've been talking about trading for Saquon Barkley since the beginning of the last season because he needs to be out of New York and he needs to get paid after this season. So his value is not particularly high, and he's off, and he's been injured a lot. Man, that's the perfect kind of player to get in, where the upside is massively high. And for a 4th round pick, what are you gonna do? Pick up a running back in the draft in the 4th round? You got as much chance of that working out as Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley is a former 1st round pick. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. It's a bit like when we were talking about this earlier when the Dolphins brought in Reggie Bush. And it was like, Reggie Bush has a history of being injured. Reggie Bush in Miami was awesome. Get, players on that natural turf down in Miami, it changes things. It makes things easier. Like, it just feels like a good spot. And I'm a real proponent of going shopping for a running back in the league right now and via a trade rather than free agency. I'm not fussed by the ones in free agency. I don't think the Dolphins do it, but I would.
Charlie?
We already know where I'm at with this. The Dolphins have 2 4th round picks, 119 and 123. Y'all can have both of them. I'm just saying, this is why. Now, again, 2 things can be true at the same time. You know what? We might as well start making some merch, Kadeem, and we're gonna that's another one. We can have the 2 Super Bowl Lombardi trophies, and 2 things could be true at the same time. So anyway, 2 things could be true at the same time. I don't like paying running backs. I don't believe you should pay a running back $14 million a year, i.e. Christian McCaffrey. I don't think you should do that. Yeah, it's nice. It's pretty, but you should be able to find production with quality running backs. Now, shout out to I gotta say this. I'm so thankful that you brought us up, Kadeem. Coach Mike McDaniel was on the Pat McAfee show. And I'm gonna stop this right now. And I'm glad I didn't say this at the beginning of the episode because I'm gonna endorse it so good and so much that people might leave right now to go look at it. But don't leave us. Please don't leave us. Share, like, and subscribe to us. But listen, after y'all finish watching this episode of Go Time Dolphins, go to watch the Mike McDaniel interview on the Pat McAfee show. It is about an hour long, bro. Like, this man was just chilling and cooling, and they didn't even think he was gonna talk that long. But Mike McDaniel has, I thought he was intriguing when we got on. Like, yeah, he's the most intriguing. But I am 100% behind him now, and I forgot. I wanted to say this before, but I'm 1,000,000% behind Mike McDaniel now. You get a very good look of who Mike McDaniel is on that 1 hour interview, and he just talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. And I think Pat McAfee was taken aback by it. Like, I had no idea. And I think he has 900,000 edits of film, right? Anybody that has 900,000 of anything is committed to their job. All right. So he has 900,000 edits. And what an edit of film is, like, this is a talking point. We got to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is a clip. Oh, I got to share this. This is a teaching moment. So if you have 900,000 teaching moments, come on, bro. Like, I'm behind Mike McDaniel. So what Mike McDaniel was saying was, you got your running backs have over 400 touches a season. You know what I'm saying? You have to make sure you have the right core here at running back. 400 touches a season. You're not going to give one person those 400 touches, but you got to make sure that it is of importance. How can I say it has to be of importance, but don't pay him $14 million a year? 2 things could be true at the same time. Saquon Barkley only gets paid $7 million this year. If he is successful, the Dolphins are successful. If he is not successful, you only throw away a 4th round pick. You could throw away 4th round picks every year anyway. You know what I'm saying? So at least you tried it out with Saquon Barkley. Lastly, if he is successful, that means the Dolphins were successful, and now you can franchise tag him. You still don't have to pay him. You hit him with the tag, and you have him again for another year. So I'm all aboard the Saquon Barkley talk. However, I am also all aboard. I'm okay if someone wants to say, hey, we'll bring in 2 fifth-round running backs, and I'm cool with that too.
The other thing with Saquon Barkley is if he does well, like you say, Charlie, you can let him walk after a year and just pick up the comp pick.
Yeah.
Because if he does well, he'll sign a big enough contract to get a comp pick. So, it's not really anything to lose. And just to touch on Mike McDaniel, because yes, everyone needs to watch the Pat McAfee interview for sure. Mike McDaniel gives you the same vibes as if one of us three was named head coach. Like
Yes.
he is passionate about football the same way we are passionate about the Dolphins and we want to win. And like that's the kind like he says in the interview, I haven't even won a game yet, and that's completely true. But this is a guy that is easy to follow because he shows that same sort of passion and the same will to win that any of us would if we were in charge.
What you think, Kadeem? What's your thoughts on Saquon? Potential Saquon.
If he's there for a fourth, yeah, you have to do it. Like you said, we have 2 fourth-round picks, so fair enough. And listen, everyone knows on this show we are massive fans or friend of the podcast, Mars Gaskin. Massive fans.
Massive, mate. Massive.
I don't want to continue right now. Like,
yo, let me do bruv. let me do my London thing.
Already. Like, we just tendered Saquon Ahmed as well. So, looks like he's coming back. We're not quite sure on Duke Johnson or Philip Lindsay. I would like to think, try and bring at least one of those guys back. But yeah, Saquon Barkley, I was chatting to my friend Tom Valentine and kind of saying how since Barkley been drafted by the Giants, he's basically been the centerpiece of that team. Okay, with the injuries and they brought in Kenny Golladay and, Danny Dimes and stuff like that. But it's kind of been Saquon Barkley's team. I think if you bring him to Miami, that wouldn't be the case. So I'm not saying you can have him on like a snap count or anything like that. But it just means you can say to him, you can run hard, but we're not going to kill you into the ground. Not at all. Now, obviously, you basically only got him for 1 year. So you can run him into the ground. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's no weapons on this team that he has to be the focal point. Not at all.
He's gonna want to prove it too, because he's gonna want to get paid. So he's gonna want to be on a. You know what? Let me prove it. Let me get my touches. Let me ask you this for both of you. We'll start with Kadeem. Do you think he's a bust? Do you think Saquon Barkley is a bust?
Is it like right now?
Yeah, right now. Is he a bust?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say he isn't. Like, no. Yeah, no. I think he is. I think if he wasn't a bust, there'd be no talk about him leaving New York. But I don't think he's a bust because he's a bad player. I think it's just injury problems. As they say, the best ability is availability. And he hasn't been available as often as New York would like. He hasn't been available as often as, the NFL would like, So he's a bust, but not due to talent. It's more just due to his injuries. And that's a shame, I guess.
What about you? What about you, Lee? You think Saquon's a bust?
Saquon's a bust. I love Saquon as a player. Like I say, I want him on the Dolphins, but like Kadeem just said, and like you keep saying, 2 things can be true at the same time. Saquon is a good player and Saquon is a bust. Those 2 things are both true. And the reason Saquon is a bust is because the Giants have fundamentally failed him as a player. They have put him in a bad position, and they have created this problem. But the fact that we're having a serious conversation about the possibility of trading for Saquon Barkley for a 4th-round pick at the end of his rookie deal means he's a bust. Because if he wasn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
The voice of reason, 5YardLee. Kadeem, back to you. You just mentioned that Saquon Ahmed got tenured. Now, for those who are just might be average Dolphin fans, or maybe even average football fans, you would hear the name Saquon Ahmed and say, why in the world are we bringing back Saquon Ahmed, right? And for me and you, Kadeem, and I'm leaving you out, Lee, because I don't know how you feel about it. But for me and you, Kadeem, we like Saquon Ahmed. I like Saquon Ahmed a lot, actually. Now, the thing is, for those who don't know, Saquon Ahmed was an undrafted rookie that went to San Fran. San Fran picked him up, undrafted, and guess who else was in the San Francisco building? Head coach Mike McDaniel, then running game coordinator Mike McDaniel for San Fran, who got promoted to offensive coordinator, but eventually they let Saquon Ahmed walk after the same season. Actually, they let him walk, and he became a Miami Dolphin. Who was the head coach? We don't have to do all that. We could just connect the dots. Mike McDaniel is now the head coach, and Saquon Ahmed got tenured. I wanted to know what this was going to do. If the proof was going to be in the pudding, that's another one of my favorite. If you let Saquon Ahmed go, it's because Mike McDaniel knows him. You see what I'm saying? And if you keep him, it's because Mike McDaniel knows him. So the fact that we're bringing him back, this is like, it is as intriguing as I am intrigued about Mike McDaniel. So I'm very intrigued by this. What were your first thoughts, Kadeem? Because since you brought it up, what were your first thoughts when you heard it?
It's kind of like I don't know if this is a journalism term. I don't think it is, but I don't know how widely known it is. It's not a needle mover for me. I wasn't like, oh my days, like, okay, we don't there's a lot of things we don't discuss because we save it for the podcast, but we will speak to each other like, oh, by the way, have you seen this? I didn't message you, by the way, have you seen this? And that's not out of disrespect him. It's just kind of like okay, cool, this is pretty, I think it's just a matter of, like you said, Mike McDaniel knows of him, works with him in San Fran and stuff. And I'm sure it's just a matter of, he's a nice, tidy player. And it's something what I said before. You don't know what you're gonna get in the draft and free agency. So keep him in the building. And if it turns out you get a Saquon Barkley and you had to let him go, fair enough. But at least he's in the building to make that decision, if that makes sense.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with Kadeem. Like this is a case of we don't want to lose this guy right now. I like him as a player. I think he can also help implement some of the thinking and the scheme and the system that Mike McDaniel wants to run. He has some experience in it, and I think that helps. So now the interesting thing will be to see if he's still on the roster come week one.
Right.
But for right now, I mean, it makes too much sense. Like, it's not costing you like a lot of money. To me, it's a no-brainer to keep someone that has familiarity with the head coach on the roster.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Saquon Ahmed is, out of all the running backs on the team, he's the one that actually fits the scheme better than everybody else. He runs like he's shot out of a cannon. Like, he from the snap, he's just all go. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just go. And he off tackle, you know what I'm saying? Zone scheme, let's cut back, find a hole. Everybody else a little bit more patient. All the running backs are more patient than Ahmed. Ahmed is just, I'm out of here. Give me the ball. So it's interesting to see what we do with that. And I could see him you're just really around just to help us out transition. And you're going to get paid to help us transition.
Kind of coach on the field.
Straight up.
Also though, like, for all we've just said about Saquon Barkley and me saying that I would want him, I don't think the Dolphins are going to go that route. I actually think that running back is going to be one of those positions that after free agency, after the draft, we're all sitting there saying, wow, we really didn't make as many moves there as we thought we would. And that's going to be because Mike McDaniel is going to get the most out of the players that he's got. And if you go back, that's kind of more what he's done rather than have the big name. Do you know what I mean? So I think they're going to use those resources to help fix the O-line so the running backs have a better chance.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And I think before we delve into bonus time, I feel like there's only one place to kind of not end the show, but end like this part of the show. And it's something I mentioned at the top of the show. I'm wearing a jersey. Mr. Charlie Touche isn't happy about it. Mr. Charlie Touche can right now kick rocks. He can wear shoes if he really wants to. But yeah, Mike Gesicki has been tagged. Now people kind of saw this move coming. Mike got married fairly recently. Might be like last weekend. Um, and we also had Ryan Fitzpatrick was at the wedding, and everyone was like, "Oh my days, Fitz was at the wedding, but Tua wasn't at the wedding." Like it's like not every single thing had to be a controversial thing in Miami. Like just completely pointless. But on his honeymoon, or on the way to his honeymoon, Mike wore a Miami hat, and everyone was like, "He's probably going to be staying." Like you don't wear a Miami hat on your way to a honeymoon if you're about to leave the team. Like you kind of know that you're going to be around for at least a few more weeks, because if not, it's very embarrassing. So I know that in previous episodes, I've been of the belief we pay Mike, not like not be stupid, but we work out a way to keep Mike and we pay him. Charlie was of the belief and the opinion that we tag him, that we should tag him. We've tagged him. There's still a slight rumor going around that he's going to argue he should be tagged as a wide receiver and not a tight end. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. And if that does happen, Miami might be like, okay, thank you, but no thank you. We're not paying you all that money and stuff like that. But to me, this is a very easy thing for them to do. It made a lot of sense, and I still think he gets a long term deal in Miami. Um, I'll end on this. Yes, he's not, and again, I've said before, he's not the best blocking tight end. He can barely block, and I don't want to attribute this to 5YardLee if he didn't tweet or say this, but I feel like it's something he did tweet slash say.
Oh,
If Mike McDaniel can't find a way to utilize Mike Gesicki's strengths, then we have a massive problem. That's not what he said exactly, but it was something along those lines, wasn't it, Lee?
it certainly was. Because I've seen people say he's not scheme fit, and because he can't block, that it's not the best fit for Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has been sold to the fan base and by accounts of everyone he's ever worked with as an absolute genius. Well, if you're a genius, you can find a way to get the best out of Mike Gesicki. And that doesn't mean that he has to block. That means you're going to adapt the system to make sure you get the best out of him. I'm excited to see what he can do with him, but I don't believe there's anyone that doesn't fit what Mike McDaniel wants in regards to skill players. Now, O-line's a different thing, but skill players, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't fit, because I think he will find a way to get the best out of him.
I will say this. Kadeem said I didn't like it. What Kadeem was talking about was I don't like the fact that Kadeem has a Gesicki jersey. That's what he was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So to be clear, because I don't want no mixed messages out there. I love the fact that we're bringing back Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is going to be a Dolphin for a long time, by the way. We just franchise tagged him this year. He's going to get paid next year. He's a Dolphin. You can't have Dolphin players on your team that do everything they ask of you, and then tell him, all right, thank you for your services. You got to reward him, and he will be rewarded. It makes dollars and cents to tag him right now. 5YardLee, before we let you go and go into bonus time, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on 5YardLee on Twitter, but you can find me on the Dol-Fan UK podcast, but also fairly regularly on here with you guys.
Hey, you was about to tip us off to something? Like you got a
I was gonna say,
what's going on?
exclusive.
Yeah. I like it. Listen, man, y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. For Kadeem Simmons and 5YardLee, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's showtime. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's showtime. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
We haven't done tweet of the day in a while, and this isn't a tweet of the day, but it's a tweet, and it's something which I wanted to discuss. 5YardLee before before bonus time started was talking about how he believes that every skilled player in the building, Mike McDaniel is going to love, but he's not too sure about the offensive line. Now, the Dolphins, I'm pretty sure all three of us can sit here and say the Dolphins need to address the offensive line of free agency. And not just like, okay, it's day 4, day 5, we'll pick up these scraps. No, day 1, go and get your guys. So, the thing we've heard over the past 28 to 48 hours is the Dolphins are interested in going to get some offensive linemen. And this is from Mike Yardy. He works for NFL Network. He believes that the Dolphins are interested to serious contenders for Teron Armstead from the Saints and Ryan Jensen. And I think the Jensen one's more interesting because he's a center. And I say that because not like Michael Dieter isn't a bad center. There are better centers out there, but again, of the offensive line, he's not a glaring hole, massive issue we need to get sorted. However, we've also said multiple times that the Dolphins need to address probably center and right tackle because there's pieces elsewhere which you can kind of get around. So Dolphins, as this tweet says, expect the Dolphins to be players for center Ryan Jensen, and then previously, the Dolphins want a seat at arm to the table. Charlie, how does this make you feel?
There were a lot of people sour about Chris Godwin getting tagged in Tampa, but when I seen a tag for Godwin, I knew Jensen was going to hit the market. So this checks a box for us, and I'm okay with it. Again, I think out of the line, if they decided to continue with Dieter, I'm okay with it, and you can go draft a center. But if we address center now, and then fix, I know we're gonna fix the right tackle. That's no doubt in my mind. So if we're gonna add Jensen, then that tells me the O-line is gonna be pretty solid because you're gonna have a right tackle, you have a right guard, you're gonna get Jensen at center, and your left side may still be in flux, but it's not as egregious on the left side as it was on the right side. What you got, Lee, with Jensen?
Give me Armstead and Jensen. I'm happy spending all the free agency money on the O-line. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. Get Xavier Howard sorted out, get Mike Gesicki sorted, and then fix this O-line. Because without fixing the O-line, we can't truly know if we have a quarterback. And you cannot come out of this season and not know if you have a quarterback. I believe Tua will make players better because he excels at throwing into tight windows and excels with accuracy. And the only way he can do that is if he's allowed to stand upright. You cannot keep getting hit at the bottom of your drop. That can't continue. And, I said earlier that I believe the Giants fundamentally failed Saquon Barkley. I believe the Dolphins fundamentally failed Ryan Tannehill for exactly the same reason, where they failed to fix the O-line. And it was a problem year after year after year. That needs to stop now so we can find out exactly how good Tua is.
Funny thing to me is if Tua had Tannehill's O-line, we would be a lot better. That's crazy to me.
Definitely.
That's the funniest thing to me. That's wild. Because Tannehill still holds the ball too long. He's been doing that forever, and he still does it in Tennessee.
But you know what I mean? Like there was glaring problems then, and it's only got worse.
Yeah, I get it.
I said at the beginning of last season, and like the single goal of the season had to be to come out of it knowing if Tua was the guy. And you didn't do that because you couldn't put the talent around him to find out. And I think he can overcome deficiencies at wide receiver because his accuracy is so good that he will hit players. You only have to be able to catch the ball. And I believe you don't have to be a top tier wide receiver to catch the ball if it hits you in the numbers. And that's the kind of guy he is. But if he's sitting on his butt, there's nothing you can do about it.
Close us out, Kadeem. What you think?
I want to change subject very quickly, and I would like to think you will understand why. So when Lee was speaking, I shook my head, and I wasn't shaking my head at something Lee said. I was shaking my head at something that I saw on Twitter. Now, I don't think it's fair to put people on blast. You know, we have a platform, but I'm not all here for, let's go, attack X, Y, and Z. Sometimes people say stuff, and I really have to question the thought process behind it. So this tweet is from Dolphin Nation, at Dolphin_Nation, but the tweet is commenting, or the tweet is highlighting something Omar Kelly said. So I'm going to share the tweet. Omar Kelly said, Gesicki is more of a slot receiver than a tight end. And if McDaniel thinks he can do something two other head coaches, Adam Gase and Brian Flores, tried and failed at, he's making his first mistake. Now, I shook my head because I was just like, dude, what are you on about? Now, there's a legit and valid argument that, yeah, Mike Gesicki is a slot receiver. He himself is like, he's a big slot receiver. Cool, fair enough. To say that tagging him is a mistake or Mike McDaniel's first mistake, I'm like, dude, what are you on about? Like, now, Omar Kelly has also said, and I believe it's in the past 24 hours, that Tua's success over the past two seasons has come from throwing to Jalen Waddle this season and Mike Gesicki as well. So you can't say Tua has been successful throwing to Mike Gesicki, but it's a mistake to bring him back. And we mentioned it earlier that Mike McDaniel can get success out of, Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki hasn't failed in Miami. That's the one thing he has not done. He has not failed. He failed at blocking, but I think it's fair to say he's a top 10 pass catching tight end in the league. Where you place him in that top 10, that's up for debate. To me, letting him leave the building without tagging him, that would have been a mistake. Charlie, what do you think?
I'll give it to Lee first, and I'll close out.
So I think you've tagged Mike Gesicki because you want to extend negotiations. I don't think he plays on the tag at all, and I think they have taken into account the fact that he's on his honeymoon. And look, by tagging you, the absolute worst case scenario is you play on the tag and you make, best part of $11 million. That's the floor right now, which means every team in the NFL knows that if they want to have talks about signing a trade, or if he does eventually hit the market, you know what he's asking. It's at least more than the tag. So this just gives them the ability to extend negotiations. It gives them the ability to go into next Sunday, when tampering starts, and make other deals, and then find out what you've got left for Mike Gesicki. Find out how not what you got left. That's a bad way of putting it. Find out how you can finesse the cap in the right way to get Mike what he wants. You can't go into an offseason like this where you have the most cap space in the NFL and then let talented players like Mike Gesicki walk and then say, we're trying to get better. Because those things, two things can be true. They can be opposite and true at the same time. That can't be true at the same time. You can't be trying to get better and let Mike Gesicki walk, because Mike Gesicki's don't grow on trees. They're not easy to find. There's a reason why I think I was watching the top, 100 free agents rolling across the bottom of the screen here a minute ago, and he was like 13th or something. Like, Mike Gesicki is going to be a sought-after player, so you don't let players like that walk off the roster without serious negotiations to try and keep him. But he's also on his honeymoon. This is also the off-season, so you've kind of, like you say, he was wearing the Miami hat when he left the other day. I believe at that point he already knew, look, I'm happy to have the tag right now so we can extend this and get a deal done in the future. So I think it gets done.
Thank you for the $11 million on my honeymoon is what Mike Gesicki is saying. And again, I'm a second what Lee just said, Mike Gesicki's don't grow on trees. And you cannot say, I remember I said this on another podcast, show me the person who says, oh, we need to let Mike Gesicki go. I need to see what that person looks like. Apparently, it's Omar Kelly. Apparently, it's Omar Kelly. I'm not going to go at Dog Dome. I'm not. Maybe some other day. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, Dolphins need weapons on the offensive side of the ball. And the only two weapons we have are Waddle and Gesicki. And for Charlie Touche's dollar, which I might not have a lot of them, Mike Gesicki has the best hands on the team. Non-debatable. He has the best hands on the team. So unless you thought we were just going to do I don't know what you guys got, the home rebuilding program, you know what I'm saying, where they knock down homes and remodel them and stuff. Like,
home
I don't know.
The hammer.
All right, cool.
The hammer.
I don't know what y'all got over there, right? So unless you thought we were just going to revamp all the receivers on our offense this year, Mike Gesicki has to be on this team. And Mike Gesicki is a Miami Dolphin. And not to make up the epitome of a Miami Dolphins, which is fan of the podcast, Miles Gaskin, but Mike Gesicki stands for what the Dolphins stand for. We're gonna end it with that, bro.